Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Safe Room, a survival horror video game club podcast. I'm Grace, and with me is my co-host, Rose.
We've never been more back.
Yeah, we've returned to video games.
Yeah.
Yeah, we played Fatal Frame this month. Which is good.
It's great, even.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Survival horror games. Amazing.
I'm trying to, I don't know. It's just good. It's nice. It's nice to play like an actual one of these again.
Yeah.
After everything else that we
Yes.
got up to recently. But yeah, this is this is like 2002 in the US, 2001 in Japan. Tecmo game.
Yeah.
It also got an Xbox release.
It's also on Steam now?
Oh yeah, I think it is, yeah. Which is weird. I think they did that when they put out Black Maiden on Switch. They might have done, I guess, I don't actually know this. But it's possible that they were like, oh, we've also done all these ports.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find it on Steam, and I'm just getting the new one.
Oh, so maybe it isn't. But they've also got, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse it came out, so there's that one too.
Yeah.
But
anyway, not important.
Mm-hmm.
The game is good.
The game's good. Yeah, it's about Miku, Hatsune Miku.
Mm-hmm.
Who's, I don't know, there's a haunted mansion. Her brother
her brother goes missing.
Mm-hmm.
Her brother, Mafuyu,
yeah.
He's looking for a writer?
Yeah, the relationship is not really clarified in a kind of weird way, but he is like apparently close personal friends with a famous novelist.
Yeah, that okay.
And he, like, the novelist goes missing, and so he goes to investigate what's going on, and he goes missing, and so she goes after him. And goes to this mansion, the Himuru Mansion, and discovers that it's haunted, discovers that it has had multiple occupants over the past, 50 years or whatever, and that they've all been killed or some such, and basically and there's also kind of there's a friendly ghost, like a ghost of a little girl. It seems to be like helping her out. And she's a magic camera. And this is the principal game thing, is that there's no weaponry. You just have this camera that you can use to banish ghosts by taking pictures of them. And basically as she explores the mansion, she discovers that this was like the site of this like ritual murders of young women who are called like the Rope Maidens or Shrine Maidens.
Yeah.
And these killings would like seal the gate to hell. And this one in the distant past went awry because she fell in love with a boy who like closely resembles Mafuyu. And was still attached to this world before she was killed. And that resulted in the I don't know. I think there's actually some ambiguity about this. The Wikipedia summary is like, that's why this happened, and I'm a little unsure. But Anyway, and then so you free her, you kind of like reconstitute her. You free her from the evil spirit that possessed her that like came from hell, you know. And but she has to stay behind in order to seal the gate. And then Mafuyu decides to also stay with her. And you only find him like right at the end. He's like deep in the, you know, in the underneath the mansion in these big old caves and such, where the big old gate is and whatnot.
And on the hard difficulty, he decides to go with you,
Yes, yeah. Actually, it's like,
which is the dumbest payoff for playing on hard I've ever seen
it's
a game
very funny.
do.
No, actually, it's cool. I think this lady should just suffer eternity alone. It's like booting up Breath of the Wild and being like, actually, Zelda could just chill there with Ganon forever. Like, I'm just gonna go farm and shit. Like, who gives a fuck about, you know? Yeah. Anyway, that's the occurrences of the game. It's about exploring this mansion. It's about solving puzzles, getting ghosts with your camera, running from ghosts, etc., etc.
And bad voice acting.
Oh, and terrible voice acting.
It's incredible. I love it so much. When you boot up the game, and she's like, me and my brother have been seeing ghosts since we were kids. I'm like, let's fucking go.
Yeah, well, it's just like, I see things that other people don't. Fatal Frame. You know,
yes.
whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the early 2000s, baby. Yeah, and there's also some stuff about like her mother may have lived in the mansion as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And like had ghosts, you know, was taking pictures of ghosts with the camera and stuff. And that's how they like inherited this artifact. You know, so there's some stuff about that, and there's also like a bunch of sort of detritus. I don't mean that in a negative way, but just like notes from the novelist and from like his assistant and from the third guy that is there, who I don't know who he is, but he's also there, and you get like, you know,
something is definitely happening here.
It's so funny. It's like, I saw a ghost with its eyes gouged out. I think maybe this place might be haunted.
I was so bummed out when you get to the second half of this game and all the audio logs just like disappear.
Oh, yeah, true.
They're mainly only in the first half, but they're incredible.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about Anatomy a little bit playing it. It's kind of that. Yeah. Especially since it's like also you kind of explore the entire house outside of a couple special areas in the first night, and then you're sort of just revisiting stuff with new information and new context, or like finding hidden passageways that move you in between things and stuff like that.
Definitely one of those games where it like rewards like knowing the space to the point where like one of the last like objectives you have is there's like a shrine that you have to gather a bunch of stuff and put into, and you take pictures of like the pillars around the shrine, and they are all like bespoke locations around the mansion.
Yeah.
And the game kind of expects you to and rewards you for knowing where all that stuff is.
Yeah.
So very, very one of those games where it's very like hyper focusing on one location.
Yeah, which is
really well.
Which I think is really cool, and it feels like, I mean, this is like an obvious draw, but I was thinking about House playing this too, you know, and just that like, yeah, the sense of like being trapped in one place that also is like changing all the time and has all this kind of like, I think that stuff is like very evocatively drawn here, and it's also very, it's very handsomely shot, I think, generally speaking, and has like a really good Like we like we were talking about it a little bit off recording of like a week ago, and it's like the game opens, it's in black and white, and then you get to color when the you play as the brother first, right? So, and that's like that play with sort of, and there's a lot of like film grain and like I don't think there's a lot of aspect ratio stuff, but like things like that where it's like you'll enter a certain cutscene or a certain ghost will show up and the environment will be different in sort of like a filmic way, right? And like mimicking this physical apparatus. That stuff is really cool and it's like very unique, I think.
Yeah, and a lot of the like flashback stuff will have that like film grain kind of effect on it too.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very cool.
Yeah, what's nice, I think there's a sensation of like there's this sensation of age to the house and to the like things that occurred. And even sort of like, I mean, there's some interesting stuff, I guess, about like you kind of enter this world that is like all old Japan and this like very ritualistic, religious space. And there's no connection to the outside world. You're like fully enveloped in this like past space. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I think, God, this game's also hard as fuck.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So, I thought the game was pretty easy, and then I got to the second night, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah.
The difficulty curve it kind of just hits you.
Yeah, and I really like this idea because it's not just that it's like a video game difficulty curve. It's that it's like the game gives you a lot of stuff in the first couple nights or the first night and like maybe that first half of night 2, and expects that stuff to carry you through like the end of night 2, night 3 and 4 kind of. You can still pick up stuff night 3. And I did do that. But like I wish there was a way the game maybe signaled that, because it's really cool, like the idea of like, oh, I have to conserve resources. Yeah. But when I first played, I was like, oh, this game's just not that hard. And so I can just kind of float on by, and I really got punished. For doing that. And to the point where it's like, I think if I was playing casually, I might have restarted. And like, okay, now I know how the game works, and so I can, operate it.
Yeah, and it's also like, I don't like the camera upgrade system. Every ability feels way too expensive.
Yeah.
And not worth it, because even like some of the endgame bosses like aren't even affected by those abilities.
No, really. They aren't. Yeah.
So it's hard to know like what to invest in. I
think.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say the third night I played this on PS3. There was a PS3 Classics or PS2 Classics re-release on PS3 back when Sony gave a shit about that stuff. And you can transfer saves from like a PC. So I downloaded somebody's save that had everything all locked, which was great because they had like 99 of everything, but there was like a special like end game like camera ability that makes it so you don't waste film.
Oh my god.
And so I was taking the biggest like level of film that does the most damage, turning on the, you don't lose film ability, and just mowing down ghosts left and right.
Oh, that's wild.
Those rush of bosses they make you do for that to get to the well, that whole thing took like maybe 20 minutes at most. It was fantastic.
That's wild.
But even then, like those like abilities that you can unlock on the first 2 days, I didn't use them because they didn't seem useful.
No,
especially that late in the game.
Yeah, I used so I bought 2 of the abilities. I bought the search one, which was sometimes helpful. The thing is that like the enemies that you would want to use it on move quickly enough that it's like the search thing can't really keep up with them, which feels like it is against the purpose, right, of the item. And then I used Paralyze, which was useful but also kind of tricky to implement, which is like fine. Because it's like it's cool to have an ability that does something really tangible, but that is also difficult to use.
Yeah.
I
bought C because the guide I was using mentioned that like all the time. And that was useful for the My Eyes lady. Because the way her movement works is that she like disappears and then pops out at a different location, but you just see all of that. And you can also like do damage during that period as well because you can see her. So it made those fights a lot easier.
That is really helpful. I should have invested in that because like, oh god, because I did not import a save, so I just kind of save scummed or like save stated my way through the parts where I really struggled, which was brutal. And there's this one part when you're getting the 4 things for the pillar that you mentioned, you have to go through this like room that has a bunch of water in it, and there's 2 ghosts in there. And the guide I was then using, because I started using a guide like End of Night 2, because like that first I just didn't need it. It felt like the game is really intuitive, generally speaking, even in the way it uses locations. But it was like, oh, there's 2 ghosts in here, so just like step in barely and then kill the first ghost and then walk into the second ghost will spawn. You can kill that one. And so that was like really helpful advice because there's like no way I could have gotten both of them at once. But it was also this ghost that like disappeared in these really erratic and moved super quickly. And so it was like, even if it stepped the wrong way, it would be like, okay, I just have to reload because like I can't like get through this. And so it was like an hour of me just like trying to like RNG this thing. And I did get it eventually. I also wondered if maybe I had some trouble with like, because okay, there's a thing in the game. So basically, the longer you hold your camera, the center of your camera, on a ghost, the more damage you will deal. Right? There's like little symbols at the bottom. And also when they attack you, there's like you basically have a counter window. It's like the text on the screen will flash red, and if you hit the button during that, you will deal damage to them instead of them dealing damage to you. Right.
The timing on that's fucking brutal. By the way.
Yeah, okay. So maybe I was like wondering if this was because of how I played the game.
I would take shots. And maybe this is also a lag thing on the PS3. I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
But I would take shots and it would register like on the camera. It would show the ghost lunging towards me and it still wouldn't count.
Right, yeah. Oh, so it's like, the timing on that is like really tough. And so there was frequently I felt like, oh, I should have gotten that. And I wonder if, because sometimes things like that can be, do you know about this Portal 2 thing where, spoilers for Portal 2, I don't think this matters to anyone. Remember at the end of Portal 2, you shoot a portal onto the moon?
I haven't played Portal 2, so
okay. Well, yeah. So there's a big set piece at the end and you shoot a portal onto the moon. It doesn't really matter. But when they were playtesting it, people couldn't remember which portal they had shot most recently. You know, and so they would shoot the other one or like something like that. So they made it so whatever portal you shoot onto the moon is the right one. They just like auto-correct it for you. So as you can press either button and it doesn't matter, the correct result will occur, right? And I feel like stuff like that can sometimes be helpful where it's like, even if you didn't dodge it exactly, this is like the idea behind iframes too, right? That it's like, you feel like you did. And so the game, you know, it fudges the numbers a little bit so that it feels fair. even though the way it was acting before is perfectly fair. And I wonder if, this is just a case where it's like, this should have been fudged a little bit more, or like the window should be a little bit longer.
Yeah. But I mean, hard to say if that was intentional or not, because I can see them being like, well, I mean, it's a survival horror game, you know?
Yeah.
It's really interesting. This game kind of has its cake and eats it too in terms of like tone, because it's really good, like Resident Evil, Silent Hill style like atmosphere. Like you're in this like secluded location and you're like exploring the stuff, you're doing the puzzles, but it also is very, very good at doing jump scares, because the designs of the ghosts are often really good and really terrifying. And when the mechanics are such that when a ghost disappears and reappears in front of your camera and just lunges at you, it's horrifying.
Yeah, it's scary. It's good. Yeah, I think the way, like, I think it's just cool. A lot of cinematic horror, I think in my experience, I haven't watched that many horror movies, so I'm not like an expert, but like is about looking, kind of inherently, maybe even there's interest in like the camera, right? In the idea of seeing something horrible. I mean, this is like what Blair Witch is like all about, right? Is like people seeing things that you do not see, or understanding something that you don't quite understand, right? Because like the fidelity of the camera is so low, things like that. And so I think it's cool to have a game that, literally the camera, and then you have to look, right? And there's sort of this tension in like looking and like trying to look for a long time and linger on it, right? And you have to sort of do that. And then it's a thing that can move outside of the capacity of you being able to identify it, right? So yeah, I think it's good. And I also think that it's kind of wild that like, because in theory, a cutscene is a safe space in a game. You're not under threat during a cutscene, But I found a lot of the cutscenes in this game very unsettling. Like there's one where this is where you find like the Shrine Maiden's room, that she like lives in all the time, and where she like there's like one little window that she first sees this boy out of, and stuff, and then you walk out and there's like a mirror on one side and the ghost comes out of the mirror. Right? For some reason I found that like so unsettling.
Just the combined like effect of like the flashbacks, and there's like a lot of like cuts obscuring like what's going on in those flashbacks. All that stuff is really well done, and there's a lot of like pre-rendered stuff too. That stuff that's like clearly an engine, but they made it an FMV for whatever reason. And that stuff is good too. It never like took me out of it. It always just like added to this like sense of space and just like having things occur in that space. It's really good.
Well, I think the like sense, you were talking a little bit about like sense of history, and I think that does, because it's like you kind of get, a lot of times you'll get a cutscene that's like, here's what happened here recently or many years ago, and the sense of like of ghosts like kind of living out things that occurred to them over and over again. Like
I thought it was and speaking of that too, the protagonist is always like in those flashbacks, like watching what's happening.
Yes,
which I thought was a really cool touch.
Right, or like then there's a couple, so there's like the ghosts look at you at the end, and then you have to fight somebody or whatever. That shit is really good.
That stuff's really good. And then you get stuff like one of the last scenes is the rope bearer or the Shrine Maiden being like tortured. And the protagonist is just like watching it happen and just being like telling them to stop and stuff like that. Stuff is really good and like really effective. And I really thought that like the moral of the story was going to be like, this cult was evil, but it wasn't.
No, it's very... This is one of the things. The game is kind of restorative, you know, in that it's like, oh, actually, like, this is what needed to happen. And the problem was that she was, like, attached to the material world, but she had to die. Right?
Yeah.
But I do kind of wonder, because I do think the scene where, because, you know, she gets killed, and I guess I didn't quite pick up on this, but in the Wikipedia article, it's like, oh, the ropes that have her blood on them, they, like, bring to the door. And that's what they close the door with. But there is almost a sensation of, like, you know, again, like, ghosts or the horror standing in for this injustice, right? And, like, the ghosts, like, raging out at this, like, horrible thing that occurred to them. And, like, in a literal way, it is, like, a game that's about, like, who has to die so that the world can work, you know, as normal. And that's, like, an interesting... that's like an interesting element of it, I think. But it is ultimately, it's ultimately like, she has to be the Shrine Maiden and hang out in hell, and that's just like the way things are.
Yeah. It's weird. Weird ending.
Yeah.
To the point where I was like, I saw the normal ending, and I was like, well, clearly in the true ending, she escapes, right? And then,
No. Absolutely not.
What was your least favorite enemy encounter?
Probably that one I talked about earlier with the two ghosts in the room. That was like so annoying, because it was like the priest enemy, not the one that you have to kill 4 times to get the pillars unlocked, but like the one that like shows up. It's like day 3. It's like everywhere, and you can like cast little fireballs that are like really hard to avoid.
Oh yeah, God, that's stupid.
That guy sucks. Yeah.
Those projectiles are so dumb.
Well, yeah, it's like I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Because your mobility is so limited.
Yeah, which is a good feature, to be clear.
Yeah.
Did you know that you can move while you're holding the camera?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. I had a part... Maybe I needed to change the control scheme, because it's like I'd have to use claw hand to do that effectively.
Yeah. No, it definitely felt like pre-first-person shooter.
Oh, yeah.
Like modern controls. Where you're like you're moving your character with the left or the right stick,
the right stick,
the left,
yeah,
and then you're using the left stick to control the camera. So it's like super weird.
Yeah. Well, and then it's also like you have to hold down circle to hold the camera, and then press X to take a photo.
Well, you don't have to hold down circle; you just have to press it.
Oh, really? I feel like it. I don't know. I always was holding it down, so that was on me. Maybe that was my problem. But because I felt like I was like, oh, I think you just toggle it, and then I like let go of it, and it, you know, it like took me out of the camera mode. It's like, oh, I guess I do have to hold it.
No, I always clicked it.
Yeah. Oh, also, a quick side note: there is a Fatal Frame movie.
What?
Yeah. From 2014. Directed by a woman, Marie Asato. And has done a bunch of other horror stuff. She did in like a Ju-on movie. And anyway, we should watch it on our podcast at some point.
Yeah. All right.
And also I hear it's good. Anyway,
sure.
So fun fact. Anyway, sorry, you were going to say something and I interrupted you.
No, the movement with the stick made just like backing up when ghosts were like making advances easier.
Yeah.
My least favorite enemy encounter in this game is the second night where you go to like the entrance of like the what they call it, the demon's head or whatever.
Oh, yeah, demon mouth. Yeah.
Yeah. And you go there, and then there's the one guy who I don't know who he is. He's like he's kind of like he seems like a mentor figure or something.
Yeah, something like that.
He grabs you and is like, "Don't be afraid." I'm like, "I'm not," but okay.
Yeah,
he's super annoying.
Because you have to fight. Yeah,
because you have to fight him in these like tight corridors, and he's always moving, and he has the most annoying noises he makes when he's out and about. I had to mute my game at some point because I just
couldn't take it. Yeah.
Couldn't take it. He's too annoying.
Oh,
I don't even know what he says. It's like an ow.
Yeah,
he does that forever. I'm just like, dude, shut up. and the thing about this game is like it's scary, except for the one or two enemies they always use, and then it's just fucking annoying.
Yeah.
So I talked about the My Eyes lady.
Yeah.
Who, like, in theory, I like, because, like, tragic backstory, like, definitely deserves to be haunting this mansion, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely, like, killed for no fucking reason. But they use her so much in Night 2, and then they give her, like, a boss battle after you fight the super annoying guy.
Yeah.
And that just took forever for me to get through. And I was also just tired of hearing her say "my eyes" as I was dying.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
My eyes.
It was so annoying, especially like with those like random encounters when I'm like just exploring the mansion and I just get fucking grabbed and I hear my eyes for the 50th time. I'm just like, fuck, dude, shut up. And she always takes off like most of your health. So like if I'm low on health, I'm just dead. Nothing I can do about it. And then I just hear my eyes. I'm just like, stop. I hate this.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that like there's sort of because the mansion space is open, it's like there's like basically random encounters, like randomized ghost appearances and stuff. And I think that can grate really quickly, especially since it's like, yeah, like you said, there's like two enemy types that occurs with, right? There's like this priest man and there's the My Eyes lady. And that's like the people that show up in this way, you know? So, yeah. I also think... I'm trying to think if there's other, like, game stuff that we didn't talk about. Like, there's different grades of film that deal more damage. And then also let you, like, advance through the track of, like, lingering on a ghost faster. And that stuff is cool. I think it's like a novel iteration on like, you know, when should you use this tool in a survival horror thing? That it's like it's the same tool but different, but it's some of it is good and some of it is bad. And so being like, what enemies can I afford to use the bad one against? What enemies can I afford the good one against? Right? How do I like work through that stuff is like cool, I think.
I just read a fucked up thing about 2.
About Fatal Frame 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, dear viewer, we're playing Fatal Frame 2 for next month.
Yes, that is correct.
Unlike in other installments in the series, the Camera Obscure's attack power is based on the player's proximity to the dark it goes. Fuck off.
I do think you get like, because you get points from shooting the ghost with your camera. I think you get more points if you're close. In this one,
it's hard. It was hard to tell how much of that was like proximity and how much of that was like me parrying the ghost correctly.
Right. Yes, that's part of it. I don't know. It doesn't really like make the number system there super clear, but it's like you get bonuses for parrying it. You get bonuses for lingering on it longer. You get bonuses for being close to it, I think. God, it's really fucked up when you're like inside the ghost and you're like trying to figure out where its face is so you can...
Yes.
Ugh.
Yeah. What did you think was the scariest one? Mine was the fucking one with the with the neck is completely bent backwards, so it's staring at you.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hated that one.
That
Awful.
got me bad like one time where I turned around and was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think the demon guy honestly is scary, and maybe this is just in a gamey way, but he has swords, and so he's like way more range. You know?
He's definitely the main character of a different game.
Oh yeah. Totally. Yeah. They should make a Sekiro clone that's a Fatal Frame prequel. Yeah. And I also I think that scene where he looks directly at you after performing some ritual is good. You know. Yeah. God, yeah. I also we kind of touched. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Lighting in this game is fucking great too.
It's
by
fantastic.
The way.
Yeah.
Especially when you have control over the flashlight with the right stick. It's great.
There's a really because the house is just in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's there's nothing else around it. Right. And so the sensation of isolation and closed-inness that sometimes gets punctuated by you go outside and you see the water of the pond, you know, the lake, nearby lake, and stuff. The pulling in and pulling out of space is very well done, I think. You know, particularly so much of the game is claustrophobic, and then it's you go into this big cavern or whatever, and you know, things like that. It's really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which control scheme did you use? Because there's one. This game has tank controls, apparently.
Oh,
I didn't
really?
know that.
Okay,
I didn't know that.
I just used the default one and didn't.
Yeah, I used
the
default one as well. Yeah, which works pretty well. It's like the Dino Crisis 3, Dino Crisis 3. I guess 2 as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like that where it follows the camera instead of where you're at. It works for this game.
Yeah.
Because it's not a fucking action game. But the save I downloaded had tank controls, and I'm like, what is happening?
No, that's wild.
So I had to change it back.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only situation where the controls adjacent to the camera didn't work was the part where you're being chased by Kyrie at the end.
Yeah.
I kept dying to that, not because I was being too slow, but because I was going through the wrong door, and she would just instantly kill me each time. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything wrong. What's going on? And then I just was going through the wrong door.
Oh.
But there's a flight of stairs you have to go down, and sometimes my character would just change directions mid-stairs, and I'm just like, no. Yeah.
Well, one time there's that little storage room that has a little ladder climbing up, and 4 or 5 or 3 or 4 times I would climb down the ladder and try to leave, and then it would just make her climb up the ladder again. And then you know. And there's no way to make it go faster, so you're just okay, I just have to watch you go down again and then hope I don't mess it up a second time. But generally I think it controls very well. I didn't have issues like that too often.
No. Apparently there's a bunch of random encounters too that can happen.
Yeah.
There's that scene where you're in the observatory where you're looking down at the lawn in front of you, and you see Miku's mom, her ghost is hanging off the tree or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Apparently that ghost can just fucking yeet you after that cutscene. Yeah.
That's wild. That did not happen.
That didn't happen to me, but that sounds fucking scary as shit.
Yeah, I think that's maybe the most compelling thematic gesture is the way that Especially since, I don't know, I find kind of the Hellmouth stuff like a little unconvincing because it's like, well, but like she unleashed hell or whatever, and it's just kind of chilled out in this like square mile.
Yeah.
For like 50 years. It seems like it's kind of chill.
It's mostly like these assholes that killed her that are struggling.
Yes, exactly. It's like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Like the Stephen King went to this house and died. Oh, I'm crying big tears. I would actually be sad if Stephen King died. Actually, but anyway,
like Kyrie and the My Eyes lady, they deserve to be haunting this shit. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. God, the stuff with the mask and with the My Eyes lady is scary to me.
It's rough.
Yeah. Because for the listener, there's a mask that has like, it's a key item in the game you use to open a door, and it has like spikes driven through the eyes that you can use to blind someone. So this woman is blinded for some. We never find out why, as far as I know. That might be in like a log or something, but it's just like a scene where the demon guy, who's like the leader of this cult, just like does it for some reason.
Yeah. But then there's a sick cutscene before, like, when you fight her for the last time, and like you put the mask on wherever it's supposed to be placed, and then in the cutscene behind you there's like a bunch of like women with their eyes gouged out, and it's fucking cool as shit.
Oh yeah, it's good. I think I was just gonna say that like I think that's the most interesting thing thematically, is just this like this house having these kind of like lingering effects over generations of people, and that like that this family who is like otherwise disconnected, and practically disconnected from this place, is like tied intimately. And I think like her mother committed suicide because of ghosts is kind of like implied, right? And so this like place just like continues to haunt people, and like structure their lives in like weird ways, and like people who, but it's only kind of these special people, right? These people who are like tuned into the supernatural that like can or care to go there and be killed or triumph over this place, right?
Yeah.
But,
and we definitely get that with the brother as well, because he looks like the person that Kyrie falls in love with. So there's definitely like a weird generational thing happening there with this like resemblance, and her wanting to fulfill her duty is after seeing him or whatever the fuck is going on there.
Yeah. Well, I think there's I think that is like, that's the thing, is that it's the true ending thing is weird in this way, because I think the moving him being like, I will stay because this is a terrible burden to be alone for all eternity, like holding off hell, and I want to like be there for her, is like very moving, I think. But it is, I think this is the element of the game that I'm like the most like, there's just kind of a conservative posture, I guess. And maybe there's some stuff, because there's a lot of like religious stuff that like frankly I don't know enough about Shintoism or Buddhism to like make claims about what is going on, although I think it is interesting the way that like, and this is just true to like religious culture in Japan, but like the way Buddhism and Shintoism are like very integrated, that you have like sacred sites relevant to both religions like close to each other, right? Things like that I think is interesting. So I don't want to make claims about that, but I do think there is sort of a like, oh, this terrible suffering like has to happen so the world can live, right? And I don't think those stakes are not clearly established, as we talked about, and I just think that's kind of a bummer thing to think. It's like coming to the end of Final Fantasy X and just being like, well, I guess we just have to kind of just stave off sin for 10 years, and that's all we can do. This is kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
There's a funny quote on this Wikipedia. I'm reading the development section of Wikipedia. According to character designer and CGI director Hitoshi Hasegawa, the game's key colors are black and white. White represented hope, while black represented fear.
Oh my god. Okay.
I'm also...
Sure.
Is there... Okay, there are a couple, like, Japanese links, but there's not an exact citation for that, and so I was like... I don't know. I was like, is this for real?
That sounds like some Bulbapedia bullshit.
Yeah, right. I'm just like, oh yeah, sure.
Apparently in the West this was advertised as based on a true story, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah, well, because it's like the creator... Because that's what it says on the title screen. It says Fatal Frame. Based on a true story. At least for me, they maybe took that out of the PS3 release.
No, they did not.
Oh, okay, yeah. But yeah, it does say that like the director had like supernatural experiences that he based some of the stuff on. Oh yeah, there's also the thing because you have to get together the Holy Mirror to like seal the gate again, and like the Holy Mirror being her body, that's being because they like draw and quarter her, which is crazy. Like that's one of the things that's good. Like it's good in this game, and like not that explicit gore is bad, but I think the way this game cuts away from things happening is always like like it's so because you just have to think about it. You have to think about what happened in a way that maybe you don't have to if it's explicit. In the same way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like I was going to say something else, but I lost it.
No, I don't know.
Yeah,
I've got nothing else.
I don't think I have anything else either. But yeah, it's good. I think if you're playing along or thinking about playing along, I think this would be a good one to do. Like it's scary. It has like all the stuff that I kind of want from this. I think the one thing that's like lacking is it's just not as. I mean, I'm probably going to be saying this a lot, but it's just not as interesting as Silent Hill 2 or 3. But it's tough. It's hard to make games that good.
I guess I don't. I disagree.
You disagree?
Yeah. This is plenty compelling.
Oh, I think so too. That's not a diss against it exactly. I just think like the kind of restorative angle this has is like ultimately kind of shallow to me.
Yeah.
And so I wish it was. It's not. I don't know. Silent Hill 1 is not deeper than this. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we're allowed to disagree on this. I'm not trying to convince you. And I do think there's like it's true that Silent Hill is like part of the reason those narratives hit hard is because it is a video game and you don't get a lot of things that are like that in this medium, And I think this game definitely approaches a lot of the same kind of like psychological stuff, or like there's things going on. There's like I really like the like Buddhist like the there's also interesting stuff with like the body and stuff. You could definitely dig into this game, and I hope we've done a little bit of that here. But like there's not a moment to me that's like the confession scene in Silent Hill 3, for example, right?
Sure.
Or like I'm gonna think about that forever. And I would think back on Fatal Frame and be like, that game is pretty cool. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good place to be in.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think like in terms of like pure like craft and the way it executes on its ideas is fucking top tier. It's up there.
No, I agree. It's really good. Like it's not and I'm curious about like just like future entries, seeing like I don't know. Game sequels can be tough because it can be just more. But this is such a like solid kind of framework for something that you could do a lot of interesting things with that are different, I think, even if sort of the basic verbs and configuration is the same. So I'm excited to keep doing these.
I've heard nothing but amazing things about it too. I will read this from the Wikipedia.
Okay.
There's not a citation. I don't know if this is true, but because many players were too frightened to finish the original, Tecmo made the I can't even read it. Tecmo made the sequel story more interesting to encourage players to see it through and finish the game. What?
Okay.
Hey guys, make the story more interesting.
Okay, there's a citation for the PlayStation blog from May 2nd, 2013 when it hit PSN.
Sure. Anyway, maybe 2 will have a mind-blowing story. Who can say?
Okay, it does say that. Yeah, the exact quote from the PlayStation blog. Since we received lots of feedback that players got too scared to complete the game, we shifted our attention to making the storyline more interesting to encourage such players to overcome the scariness and wanting to see the end of the story. So,
sure.
We should link this in the episode when we cover Fatal Frame 2, because he just said some interesting things. He talks about like playing through the game multiple times because it's based on a dream he had, reportedly, and like playing through the game multiple times being like the process of interpreting a dream. That's the thing. If I was writing this fucking Wikipedia article, that's the shit that I would quote. Because that's fascinating. The idea is like, oh, I'm going to like mimic like, because I think a lot of people, not everybody necessarily, but like people experience this where you like have a dream and you think about it and you talk about it in therapy, and like layers of the dream kind of become clearer to you over time, and you can like narrativize it in a way that when you're dreaming you can't. And like the idea of like, let's make that into a video game is really weird and interesting, and like such a vibrant structural decision. Mm-hmm. That's fascinating. Him being like, oh yeah, we made the storyline, but we increased the storyline bar so that players would finish the game is like, whatever.
Yes.
But yeah, should we do questions?
Yes, we have one question from Jen. Jen says, more than Resident Evil or Silent Hill, I feel like Fatal Frame is the PS2 Xbox era series where its reputation was, this will scare the shit out of you. Do you think the prevalence of ghost movies in the early 2000s led to this reputation, and seeing how the Fatal Frame series fell into disrepair over the last decades, what would your ideal modern Fatal Frame look like? I definitely feel like the Blair Witchiness of it contributes a lot, especially like the based on the true story stuff.
Yes,
definitely.
Well, there's sort of there's sort of a found footage character, not like literally, but like it's sort of presentation and feeling.
Yeah.
And that shit's scary. Blair Witch is a terrifying film. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that does influence it. I also just think it's like, it's a game, like, even though there is sort of an action forwardness, like you can banish the ghosts, you're not running away all the time. There is like the process of having to confront, having to be in uncomfortable situations in terms of like, and seeing things that are disturbing, right? And you have to push through that. I think that also kind of makes it's kind of a different formation of what we've talked about before, like Silent Hill being like grueling rather than difficult, right? And I think this is like a very novel configuration of that also kind of lends itself to being like, oh, this game is scary, and kind of like, because the way that Silent Hill games are scary is like a little bit harder to like pitch on a base level, because it's like, it's very un-jump scare reliant, right? principally. And so it's like, but Fatal Frame, it's like, yeah, shit's fucking scary, dude. You saw, I turned around and saw a ghost, and it's like, yeah, it's scary. It's good. It totally. Yeah. And that isn't to say this isn't me being, in this instance, it's not me being like, oh, Silent Hill is deeper. It's just like, it's just a different approach, right? And I think this is like a little bit more legible to that kind of reputation. Whereas like Silent Hill has a reputation that's a little bit more narrative forward, right? And that just makes sense to me with the difference of what they're doing.
Yeah. So the thing about Fatal Frame is that I have no idea if those later games are good or not.
Right.
Because I've heard both things. I've heard that they're really good, actually. Or I've heard people just fucking hate it. So I don't know. The creative director is the same for all of the games. So I don't know. We could love them.
Yeah, I'm curious about
I don't know how to answer that question.
That is a Suda game.
Which one?
Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, which is the Wii one that got a re-release recently. It's co-directed by Suda51.
Okay, got it.
And co-written.
Gotcha.
So, like, that is interesting. Also, the trailer for that game was great, I thought. I don't know, it looks scary. There's, like, a weird face melting effect that the game has, I think is really creepy. I
did not know that was a Suda game. Damn.
Yeah.
It's on everything, so...
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll probably play the Wii version because I'm like that. But, yeah, I feel like this is something we should revisit once we've hit Made in Blackwater and, like... Because that's the most recent one, and then we can sort of talk over, like, what we'd be interested in from a more contemporary thing. Yeah. I think... the sort of, in theory, what I would like a game that I would like a game where you play, or it's contemporary set, and so the camera's a cell phone. And I would like it to be about like three roommates or something. And they have different. One of them has an Android phone, and so they plays a little differently or whatever. And the kind of like is about interface and technology and about like homosocial kind of relationships between like young women and like looking through the phone. Like, I don't know, you could do cool, interesting stuff with that, and maybe it would be a disaster if it's like the Fatal Frame team is gonna make a game about OnlyFans and Instagram. Or whatever. But I think you could make a totally interesting horror game that like leans into the phone as like a camera object, right? And it's like actively discussing that. I think that would be what I'd be most interested in seeing from a game like this. But but I don't know if that has anything to do with like where the series goes after this as part of the thing. It's like that's just something I'd be interested in generally. And that I'd be interested in from anyone if anybody wants to make that. It doesn't have to have the Fatal Frame name attached to it, But yeah, thank you so much for the question, Jen. Yeah. Thank you so much for writing in often. It's really lovely.
I'm excited to dig into the series.
Yeah.
More.
No, me too. So yeah, we're as we previously said, playing Fatal Frame 2 next. And that's like for some scheduling stuff that we'll get to, because we have like the next few months kind of lined up. So
we're cooking.
We're cooking. It'll be good, I think. Never mind. I'll ask you this.
It won't be good. It'll be terrible.
It'll be awful. No, it'll be good. I'm excited. Although we'll see. One of the games we're covering up in the future, we might just disagree on. We'll find out. I'm curious to see if that'll be the case. But yeah, thanks so much for listening. Thanks for tuning in every month. And we'll do other plugs as well. But if you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/the safe room. I believe. Simply. Yep. And you can find our Discord at spookygame.club, as well as our RSS feed and whatnot. You can find the podcast at Podcast Safe Room on Twitter. Or you can email us questions at questions@spookygame.club. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where can people find you on the internet, Rose?
I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We both got on Blue Sky like last week, this week.
I'm not on main. I'm not really on main on Twitter that much anymore.
Yeah.
I have Blue Sky, but the thing I like about Blue Sky is that not a lot of people follow me.
Yeah, there's no people on there. It's kind of Blue Sky is like chill as fuck right now, and I'm sure that is going to end. At some point, that is going to fall apart and die. But right now, it's like kind of a vibe. It's just chill.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm mainly on Blue Sky and on alt Twitter, and then on Discord. So
right. Well, yeah, join the Discord, I guess, if you want.
I've given up on having an outward presence online for now.
All right. Well, I can take over Safe Room promotion duties because I'm
logged into the Twitter.
Right.
Still, but you know.
Yeah, well, I'm on Twitter at Grace_Machine. I'm on Blue Sky at Grace Machine, I think simply so. Because they don't let you do underscores on there, which is criminal. Or something. I don't know why. There was something happened where I couldn't put an underscore. I don't know why.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Does Austin have
I don't know. I didn't look. But this is the thing. Is if you it's Austin_Walker. Right?
Okay. He has no. God damn it. Sorry, Austin Walker only has one tweet, and it's "we skeeting over here."
Yeah, I saw that.
But no, he has He has his name, just his name, no underscore on the handle, but the username has an underscore.
Oh, okay, that's a way to
So and then I guess it's there in some way.
Grace-Machine on co-host. So
yeah.
Yeah. The social media we don't need to. You all know. We don't need to talk about it. But yeah, I think that's it from us for this month. We'll tune back in next time for Fatal Frame 2.
Yeah.